Hi, thank you for tuning in and welcome to our very first lab. And in this lab, we're going to be configuring inter-VLAN routing, both switch virtual interface and route-based inter-VLAN routing. So on this side A, we're going to configure switch virtual interface, and this side B, we're going to configure route-based inter-VLAN routing. So in this switch virtual interface, we are going to configure a switch virtual interface within the distribution layer switch, and it's going to be switch virtual interface 10, switch virtual interface 20 as labeled here. That's going to route traffic between VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. Okay, so let's begin. In our switch DLS1, we're going to configure VLANs. We're going to start with configuring VLANs. So what I'm gonna do here is say get terminal VLAN 10 can limit enhance 20 marketing and then we're gonna say do show VLAN brief, and there is our VLANs, though we do not have any access ports on this VLAN. So we're going to give in gigabyte 0/1 and 0/2 access ports as access ports to VLAN 10 and 20 respectively. So to do that, we're going to jump into interface configuration mode by 0/1 switch port mode access switch port access 10. I'm going to jump into interface 0/2 switch port mode access switch port access 20. You can say exit. You can verify again to show VLAN brief. We can see our ports and our access ports and into our switches. I'm gonna just jump into PC on VLAN 10, and I'm gonna do I'm just gonna do configure IP address here, which is gonna be IPv4. I'm gonna do automatic 10.1.10.50 255.255.255.0 10.1.10 10.1. I'm gonna say okay, close. Gonna just verify our configurations with the IP config. You can see we have our IP address there. We can jump into our VLAN 20 machine here. We can configure the IP address there, IPv4. So I'm gonna say 10.1.20.50 255.255.255.0 10.1.20 10.1.20.1. That's the gateway for our VLAN 20. So again, we're gonna do the same, verify that we have our IP address there, which is 10.1.20.50. At the moment, we're not going to be able to ping the guys on VLAN 10 because we haven't done any inter-VLAN routing, so our pings are going to fail. I'm just gonna do a continuous ping, and then I'm going to configure inter-VLAN routing, and then we're going to verify that our pings are going to be successful. So let's go back to our DLS1, and then we're going to start with the switch virtual interface 10, which is interface VLAN 10. Description, you can say VLAN. My typing today is awkward. 10 gateway, IP address 10.1.10.1 then no shut. Say exit interface VLAN 20. I'm gonna say description VLAN 20 gateway. The address 10.1.20.1 I'm gonna say no shut. Correct. Do show IP interface brief. Now, since they are both up, our pings should now be successful. If we go back to our machine here, as you can see, our pings are started to be successful. So it means you can ping VLAN 10 from VLAN 20. We're going to cancel that. Then we're going to go back here and say now we are going to configure side B. We have verified that this side PC can ping each other from VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 and vice versa. For side B, we're going to configure inter-VLAN routing again, but this time we're going to configure it on the router, because here we're going to require it's router based, so we're going to require a layer 3 device, which is the router. Inside this router, first I'm going to start with configuring router 2. I'm going to start with configuring the interface here. So I'm going to say configure terminal interface is 0/0. I'm going to use no CCNP enable because I know there's going to be some mismatch. So description LAN gateway. I'm going to say LAN gateway. Then IP address is going to be sorry, we're not going to configure any IP, so we're just going to say shut, bring up the interface. So that is it, and then the interface is up. We're going to say interface is 0/0.30. It's going to come up immediately because it's within the then we're going to say description 130 gateway. Okay. Oh no, sorry. Let's not go here. Let's not go here first. Let's say interface no interface is first I'm going to configure VLANs on DLS2. So we're going to start with DLS2. Of course, we are starting to get the messages of no duplex, blah blah blah. So get terminal. To get rid of the CDP messages, we're going to say interface gigabyte 0/0 or CDP enable. Okay, select. Next, we're going to configure the VLANs. So 30 name. I'm going to say engineering. VLAN 40 MT. Say exit. Show VLAN brief. Okay, we have them here, just like on our DLS1 we did a couple of access ports for different VLANs. So likewise here we're going to say interface gigabyte 0/1 switch port mode access switch port access 30 gigabyte 0/2 switch port mode access switch port access 40. Say exit, then do show VLAN brief. You can see we have VLAN 30 and they have the access ports. So I'm going to jump into my machines here. This time these ones are Kali Linux. I'm using Kali Linux, so I'm going to say I'm going to configure their IP address, which is going to be IPv4. I'm gonna say manual here. This one is for VLAN 30, so I'm going to say 190.60.30.50, then 2.5.2.168.30.1. That is the gateway. And apply. The interface is up. You can confirm if config. You have it here. I'm going to jump into our second Kali machine on VLAN 40. Then we're going to configure IP at the static IP address. So we're going to say IPv4 manual 92.168.40.50 2.25.0.168.40.1. It's going to be our gateway here. So we're gonna say this one we're gonna let's make sure it's up. Let's confirm. Okay, that's fine. Let's close. So at the moment we are not able to ping our Kali Linux on VLAN 30. So we're going to set that to 30.50, and the pings should be unsuccessful. But we're just going to leave it at that, and then we're going to now come here. So in our DLS, we're going to create gigabyte 0/0 as our trunk port, which is going to carry VLAN traffic all the way from here upstream. So I'm going to jump into that and say interface gigabyte 0/0 switch port. Let me just confirm that our encapsulation is return queue. The switch port mode trunk switch port trunk T41 VLAN 1, which is not a very good practice, but this is gonna be basic teachings of inter-VLAN routing, which is still okay. And then say exit. So now we're gonna say do show interface trunk, which you can see from here. We have gigabyte 0/0 as trunk, allowed VLANs allowed in management domain, VLANs in spanning, blah blah blah. None. Exit here. I'm gonna come back to our router 2, and then now here we're gonna say let's first confirm that our previous interface does not exist. Show IP interface brief. Okay, and set deleted, that's fine. We're then gonna say interface E0/30. We're gonna say description gateway. Then we're gonna say no. We're gonna say encapsulation queue then 30. Then we're gonna say IP address 192.168.30.1 and say no shut. Okay, show IP interface. Now we are up for VLAN 30. It should be able to ping its own gateway. So ping 192.168.30.1 should be able to ping its own gateway. As you can see, the pings are successful. So let's go to interface E0/0.40, which we're gonna say description the gateway, then encapsulation 1Q40, IP address 192.168.40.125.25.25.2. I'm gonna say no shut, exit. So now after this we should be able to ping, both VLANs should be able to ping each other. So show IP interface brief. You can see we have our interfaces here, they are all up. VLAN 40, we can come here and confirm that we can ping it its own gateway first. One. And yes, we can ping its own gateway. So let's confirm that we can ping VLAN 30. The pings are successful. Let's also confirm we can ping VLAN 40. Yeah, and we are successful. So now there is one thing that is remaining. One more thing to finish up. We have side A. Inside side A, VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 can ping each other. VLAN 30 and VLAN 40 can ping each other. But now we want all these VLANs. We want full connectivity across the network, which is one of our objective up here. As I've written, we will need full connectivity across this network. So to do that, we're going to do a couple of IP route configuring static and default routes. So let's start on DLS1 switch here. We're going to convert G0/0 into a routed port. So to do that, let's jump into DLS1 Then we're gonna say the terminal interface gigabyte 0/0, no switch port. I'm also gonna say no CDP enable because of the gigabytes, and there's gonna be a duplex mismatch and you're gonna get a lot of CDP messages. So we're gonna say IP address. Let's first do the description. Say that this is linked to one. Okay, I'll give it an IP address 10.2.2.1.255.255.252. Okay, I'm gonna say no shut exit. Now let's go to R1. Then we're also going to configure E0/interface E0/0, no CDP enable. We're gonna say description link to DLS1. So we're gonna say IP address 10.2.2.2.5.2.5.2. Then we're gonna say no shut. So here is .2, so I'm just gonna label that. This one is .2. Let me just duplicate this one, then we can be able to label this one correctly. So this one is .2. Okay, here is .2. Then this one is gonna be .1. Which you can say .1 there. So we, from our Windows PC here, we cannot be able to ping from any PC that we cannot be able to ping the router's interface. We can confirm that .2. So our pings should be unsuccessful. So why is this? Because there is no IP route or routing configured in order to route traffic between this network 10.1.0.0 to the 10.2.2.0/30 network. So to do that, we're gonna go into DLS1. Then you're gonna first allow say IP routing. Then you're gonna configure a static route, and this route is gonna carry traffic all the way from these two networks upstream. So IP route 0.0.0. Sorry, this is gonna be a static default route. 0, our exit interface 2. Then we're gonna come back to our router 1. Sorry, router 1. Then we're gonna configure another route that's gonna carry .00 traffic. Sorry, .0.0. Then gonna be 10.2.1. Okay, so right now we should be able to ping our router's gateway E0/2. As you can see, the pings are now successful. That's from VLAN 20, from VLAN 30. No, sorry, from VLAN 10 should be able to ping the router's gateway. So they're all successful. Next, here we can ping only the router, but we cannot ping R2 or this other network. So what we're going to do, we're going to configure another static default route. But first, let's configure some routing on this, some IP on this interface. So we're going to say interface SC1/0, description to R2. Then we're going to say rate 28,000 because it's a serial interface. 128,000. I'm going to say we can also give it a bandwidth if you'd like, and give that bandwidth IP address 10.1.1.1 255.255.252. Okay, so no shut. That's okay. And then we're gonna say we're gonna go to R2. We're gonna say terminal interface SC1/0. This will be a DTE, so we are not able going to configure a clock rate. So we'll just say description link to R1 IP address 10.1.1.2. I'm going to say no shut. You can still decide to give it a bandwidth, it's still okay, but no, it doesn't matter. If you want to do that, it's still fine. So R1, we should be able to notice the interface is up. You can see the message there. Next up, we're going to verify the ping 10.1.1.1. Okay, so R1 and R2 can ping each other, but we cannot ping from VLAN 10 to the interface on R2. We cannot do that. So to verify that, we're going to test ping 10.1.1.2. Our pings should be unsuccessful, and we should be able to ping all the routers interface. So let's see. Yeah, we can ping all of our routers interface, so which is okay. Next up is to now configure IP routing on our R1 side. So we're going to say in R1, we're going to say IP route 0.0.0.0. Then we're going to say 0.0.0.0 10.1.1.2. So now we can ping R2 interface. So let's even try from VLAN 10.1.1.2. We should be able, sorry, we cannot still be able to ping that. We're going to go to R2 again and configure another IP route 0.0.0.0 then to 10.1.1.1. Now let's confirm. Yes, from here now we have connectivity towards router 2. You can also confirm router 2 is 10.1.1.2. Now we'll need to verify also pings from our VLAN 40 side from Kali machine. Let's try to ping VLAN 10. So ping 10.1.10.50. Yeah, and we have achieved full connectivity across this network. Let's also verify that ping 10.1.20.50. We can ping that. We can also verify VLAN 10. We can ping that. We can ping every other machine. Let's test from here. We can say ping 10.192.168.40.50. The pings are successful. We can ping 30.50. All pings are successful. So we have achieved inter-VLAN routing. All PCs are able to ping each other from VLAN 20, from VLAN 10 to VLAN 40. We have verified full connectivity across this network. We started by configuring inter-VLAN routing. Then we had two layer 3 devices here that provides full routing across these two sides, side A and side B. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for other videos. Thank you.